Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Andrew Yang's perfect cabinet. All right, and specifically how I think the best choice for Andrew Yang's Secretary of Energy would be Neal Stephenson, an American science fiction writer. All right, so the presidency has an incredible amount of power. One of the most powerful things the president does is to appoint the cabinet. The cabinet is almost a perfect small microcosm of all the major sectors that our government deals with. So there's a lot in there: defense, justice, the interior, which is like parks and federally held land, agriculture. There's energy, education. There's a whole lot of different areas that the cabinet, there's actually 15 cabinet positions, and the president has the ability to drop in whatever person the president wants in those positions. And this is incredible because you're covering the gamut, right? Commerce, all these different areas, and you're covering the gamut of the major sectors of activity that our government has, and the president is putting one person in charge of those resources. And that person is multiplying the work, multiplying the vision, right? Multiplying the dreams of the president, the direction the president wants our country to go. These people then put that into action, make that into a reality, right? And it's incredibly powerful. This is a very specific power that the president has. And by making the right choices in these specific roles, the president can really shape the activities for 4 to 8 years of this nation, changing multiple industries, changing the work of individual Americans, changing how groups interact with the government, changing how American groups interact with American individuals, changing how American individuals live their individual lives. The power of this cannot be understated, right? So I'm really excited about Andrew Yang's presidency starting on January 20th, 2021. And the idea that I believe, because he is a tech-savvy startup, he'll be our first tech-savvy startup mode president. We're going to get a different cabinet than we've had. Whenever I talk about Andrew Yang, it's a reminder of who our current president is, and our current president, it really, I kind of get where he's coming from being conservative president. It seems like Trump has taken a different perspective on the cabinet and what the cabinet does, and because he's a conservative, and conservatives want things to stay the same, it's almost like Trump has put in people that would regress the groups that they're actually attached to, right? Housing is another one, but it's frustrating to see. So the idea that Andrew Yang could build a cabinet based on a different model and based on progressing the country rather than regressing the country, or making sure the country doesn't actually move forward, that's huge. That's a really big difference, right? And it's really quite fascinating, right? So let's talk about Neal Stephenson, right? So my pick for Andrew Yang's cabinet for Secretary of Energy would be Neal Stephenson. Neal Stephenson is an American science fiction writer. He's an American writer. He doesn't just write science fiction. He writes nonfiction, science fiction, fiction. He is quite prolific. And just to be clear, he is prolific when he doesn't need to be. At this point, Neal Stephenson is a millionaire. There's no question about that, right? So basically, he does not need to write anymore, and he's still writing like crazy. Now, this is a big deal because we are now in a new era where people are essentially calling out rich, right? Everybody wants the next Harry Potter series. Everybody wants to finish the Game of Thrones. Everybody wants the Name of the Wind series to continue. But these authors are calling out rich, going, "Oh my gosh, I realized I have." People are like, "Oh hey, can we get that next book in the series?" And the author's like, "Oh, sorry, I realized I'm a millionaire. I don't need to write anymore," right? Or certainly not the things you want to see. So, and that's the issue. Is Neal Stephenson isn't like that. He has a burning passion for writing. and really is quite prolific and continues to write amazing books. Now, why should we choose this man? Well, this gentleman, he is a world-class genius, and his specific subjects of research are a perfect fit for declaring that Andrew Yang's cabinet will be, like, I think that Neal Stephenson will be the cornerstone of the cabinet. Andrew Yang could set him into place first, and in one appointment declare, my cabinet will be filled with thought leaders. Right now, thought leaders. What do you mean? Well, people who will send us in the right direction. So listen to the research subjects of Neal Stephenson. He has researched in depth and thought very deeply and written very deeply about mathematics, about cryptography, about the history of science, about linguistics, about philosophy, about currency itself, money, right? He has written on all of these subjects in incredible detail, and he's come away with some amazing insights, right? This guy, a perfect example of this is the book Cryptonomicon. The book Cryptonomicon went into depth about cryptocurrency years before Bitcoin was at $16,000 a coin, right? He was way ahead of the he really was way ahead of the pack on cryptocurrency, right? And now that cryptocurrency has dropped, he understands that space, and not just like, what's the best way to mine Bitcoins, but how will a money that's not tied to any specific nation actually impact, how would it actually impact nations, the International Monetary Fund? He knows those kind of answers, right? And the thing is, but I also talked about history. He's a huge fan of history. So Neal Stephenson has really thought about the American past and the American future more than, in my opinion, more deeply, and come away with more useful analysis than any human alive, without a doubt. He is a thought leader, right? And so I hear you. You're like, wait, Scott, you're saying that an American science fiction writer should be the Secretary of Energy? Yes, I am. Here's why. Okay, if you think that's a crazy idea, well, Jeff Bezos thought it'd be a good idea to not only have the largest corporation in the world, one of the most successful corporations in the world, Amazon, with $160 billion, when he had questions about his rocket program, taking vehicles and launching people and robots and all kinds of different things into space, he called up Neal Stephenson, right? When you have $160 billion and you have questions, and your doctor and the thousands of people you've already employed with doctorates don't have answers for you, you can call Neal Stephenson. And that's exactly what Jeff Bezos did, right? Google doesn't hire anybody that doesn't have a PhD anymore, in my opinion. They hire the best and the brightest. They asked Neal Stephenson to come and talk to them. The smartest people in the world, the richest people in the world, the people that have more momentum in technology, talk to Neal Stephenson, right? He's an absolute thought leader, and he is the perfect capstone. He is the first perfect cornerstone for Andrew Yang's perfect cabinet, because he will say, we are going to go, and hiring Neal Stephenson for energy says we're going to go in new directions. Now, why are we putting Neal Stephenson in as Secretary of Energy? Well, the reason why is I think among all the cabinet appointments, energy is the most important, right? And the reason why is it's cross-sectional. It's going to cross over into commerce. It's going to cross over into agriculture. It's going to cross over into defense. It's going to cross over into the interior material. There's almost nothing that it will not cross over into. Education as well, right? Energy is the most important of the cabinet positions. And Neal Stephenson is absolutely brilliant. This is the gentleman who wrote, Snow Crash, Anathema, Diamond Age, Cryptonomicon. He wrote Seven Eves. These books have huge. Anathem is a book he wrote that is 1,000 pages long, and the point of the book is to say that we as Americans, we as internationals, no longer can focus on we no longer have long-term focus, right? The book itself, which is 1,000 pages, literally challenges the reader to focus on the long term. It talks about studying things for a year, studying things for 10 years, studying things for a century, studying things for a millennium. It talks about language. It talks about botany. There's a 20-page section in Anathem about how you cut a cake so that everybody gets an equal slice, right? It's an incredible work of art. It's an incredible work of direction and analysis. It is an amalgamation of thought and analysis on American history and American future, right? America's past and America's future. Neal Stephenson is the right person. In addition to that, I guarantee when Andrew Yang can't simply, he can't come into the presidency, pick up the phone and say, Neal Stephenson, I want you to be my Secretary of Energy. And the reason why is I almost guarantee Neal Stephenson's going to go, no, I have a perfect life. I don't need to be dealing with all that nonsense, right? But the reality is, Neal Stephenson is, Andrew Yang is going to be our first tech-savvy startup mode president. He's been in startups, right? So Andrew Yang knows how to deal with millionaires who are hard to motivate, both at the angel round funding and at the rockstar developer level, right? And the reality is we need to start these cabinet searches, right? For people who don't want to do the work for America, right? But need to be called to duty to their nation, right? And it will be Andrew Yang's problem to convince Neal Stephenson to think before he makes that call, or to even send someone to get Neal Stephenson, someone that Neal Stephenson actually cares about, right? And it's really important, right? I think it's important that Andrew Yang breaks the mold and doesn't put in another governor or some nonsense mayor or, we need thought leaders in these positions, right? We need someone who knows how to listen to experts and make analysis and determine direction for our nation based on that analysis. And Neal Stephenson is the absolute perfect start to a perfect cabinet. Andrew Yang can transform this nation and by extension transform the world by choosing the right people to drop into these positions for the cabinet. The state of the cabinet today makes me shed tears. It has been so misused, so underused, so misunderstood. It's very, very frustrating and difficult to understand why a president would take the cabinet would treat the cabinet so carelessly. But with Andrew Yang, we have a possibility that he will come in and he will treat the presidency he'll treat the cabinet as an important extension of its own power, as important an extension of his own vision, as an important extension of his own dreams, his own love for the nation, right? And it's incredibly important, and I think Andrew Yang can build a perfect cabinet, and I think Neal Stephenson is the absolute perfect start to a perfect cabinet. That's my opinion. What's your opinion? Who do you think should be Andrew Yang's Secretary of Energy? I'd love to hear your pick. In addition to that, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.